The press release is with Donna at the moment. So that's really for the city to put that press release out. I just wrote a basic thing for the council to go over, to review, put out, or Donna just to go over and review and put out, along with any photo. There will be some changes to that, so we've kind of held off on that press release quite yet. When we do that, I think the vision and mission will be good to go out with it. Once we kind of clarify those points on those. Caesar, number 4. Caesar is okay with the current vision and mission statements. Does anyone else there in your packet?
Honestly, I think everything turned out really well. I had one possible point of maybe clarification. Again, the very last word we mentioned, other stakeholders, I was thinking maybe we may want to define that term maybe a little bit more clearly as to who that would, who that would affect, or who are really kind of.
To be honest with you, I took that from government.
Yeah, sure.
Other city paperwork.
Absolutely. And honestly, typical government work at its best. But with that being said, maybe we can provide a little more clarity for the public purposes to establish who a stakeholder would be defined to be. And that's my only recommendation. Everything else looks great.
Residents and other citizens, Mayor.
Business residents and other citizens?
Yeah, I actually think that's better than stakeholders.
All right. So with the adaptation of other citizens, make a motion that we accept the mission statement.
I'll make a motion we accept the mission statement and
Go
we'll
over
change
the
the
mission.
stakeholders to citizens.
Any second?
I second.
All those in favor? All right, now on to the vision. Other than my typos. And I can, well, here. We'll go back to the vision, and we'll read this for the public. I'll send this out also to the press in a better formatted type. The mission of the Blue Ridge Downtown Development Authority is to enhance the economic potential and preserve the historical character of the downtown district, the heart and hub of Fannin County, through promotional activities, development, and an organizational structure that focuses on community involvement with local businesses, residents, and other citizens. Our vision, which we still have not approved, but I'll read it. Blue Ridge is Appalachia's most inclusive, family-friendly, freshwater destination, featuring world-class dining and shopping, a growing economy, entrepreneurial opportunity, and all-season recreation. The City of Blue Ridge is also designated Georgia Community Authority and Georgia Municipality Art Town.
Georgia Council for the Arts.
Thank you.
And
I made that up.
Municipal Association.
That's why it's not spelled out. Georgia Council for the Arts. Council for the Arts.
Georgia Municipal Association.
I got the GME part. That's the one I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the GCA? And the art, anyway, we're an art town. We are committed to preserving our unique community while maintaining a vital, successful, and attractive downtown for our residents, merchants, and visitors. All citizens of Fannin County will have a greater appreciation, respect, and understanding for the historic center. The Central Business District, CBD, will be valued as a vibrant economic and cultural district and a vital contributor to the community's heritage and identity. The CBD will be better because of the partnerships, investments, and enhanced sense of place. Blue Ridge will have an enriched quality of life in which to live, work, and play. Anybody have any?
No, I'm a fan of that proposed vision. I think that encompasses a lot of very. Anybody else would have any addition to it?
I think it's great.
It gives us a good scope and directive of
Where we want to
what
go?
we really need to do to move forward. Yeah.
You like it, Nicole?
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Go ahead.
completely complain about it.
Good.
Put that one in the notes.
Don't worry.
That's the, just a flow of the art
Oh,
sounds.
yeah, no, because I kind of threw it in.
Yeah,
So where do we want to put that?
you're the writer, so it's just
Okay.
maybe with shopping, dining, and artistic or cultural endeavors.
Blue Ridge is Appalachia's most family-friendly freshwater destination featuring. it doesn't feature that as an art town, it's a designated art town. Okay, I'll have to edit that a little bit. So why don't we table the vision for a minute? I'll send something back out to you guys in an email. So I'll make a motion, we table the vision approval until Michelle can wrap her brain around re-editing the art designation. And I'll email it to you guys.
I'll second that.
I know that's not the prettiest.
It's baby steps.
Thanks, Jay.
We need to vote. Actually, I think we
Oh.
need, all in favor?
Aye, thank you, Kelsey.
Nicole, did you?
I do it.
Got it.
All right, top 5 priorities from each committee member. So I guess we need your design 5 priorities on the board. Over here. And then Jean's not here for, where, 2 are we missing? Oh wait, it's 4, right? Or 5. I got Jeff, Caesar. Yeah. Design. And, yeah, economic development, which is Jean.
Do you want to write it up here or just speak
Yeah.
out loud?
Okay, you're a little sharpie.
I apologize for the handwriting, everybody. I'm just gonna say it. So my first, it's 6 really, but they all kind of lead. Thank you so much. Historical research. Basically looking at the past review of 2020's work and using it as suggestion points. You know, identified gateways, so that, not leaning on it, but using it as suggestions.
Can we find that information?
I have a PowerPoint of
She
it.
has quite a bit, I'm sure we can find. Caesar has it, either.
I sent it to Caesar as well, but I can resend it.
Second is the inventory of downtown. Just take a look what the city has as far as an inventory of downtown, which will include any sort of national register locations or possible national register locations. Third would be really, I'll put that one last. Third would be working towards a Main Street designation, looking at the work the city's done prior to and working towards. I feel like Alma, I love your support. It's great. Just been cheerleader in life.
Looking for it for a long time.
You can just talk right to Alma, how's that?
I do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nicole, working towards a Main Street designation.
Yes.
Including, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I had it now.
Just in total, and then behind that would be developing a historical preservation committee, which would fall under that for us. But again, this all goes back to some of the work the city's done, so.
Right, there already
There is
is an
research.
historical preservation committee, it just needs to be, put people
No
on it.
numbers never moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did the Main Street designation paperwork already, we just haven't followed through with what's needed to get it complete. So we need to get those updates from the city.
Yeah. A big one is wayfinding signage, taking a look at where those markers, just getting people into the CBD area. And then last but not least is education for me, for the community at large, and understanding what the design committee really entails, what input they could give us, and vice versa.
And that should be a shared responsibility with outreach.
Yes, absolutely.
You said you had 6?
Yeah, and then last but not least is obviously financial, finding grants, whether it be through, I mean, obviously working hand in hand.
That's over here.
Yeah, but with an arts background or a design background.
Art, design, streetscape.
Yeah.
And historical. Because there's money, we have money in our historical. That's hysterical. Historical. Because there are grants for all of this. Right on sticky notes, put on like, how How do our priorities align with our vision and mission?
Generally speaking, an attractive downtown for residents, merchants, and visitors.
I mean,
I think all those fall well within our vision statement, depending on when it gets approval.
and so for Caesar's parking group, which is also, parking is, what did we combine? Freestanding. Okay. So parking, we have obtain a comprehensive parking analysis for the CBD, which the city is working on. I think if we put together all of the proposals and projects that Donna's been working on and the past things that the council's done, I think he'll have a comprehensive parking.
We just got it all, the studies from the guys that been helping us, I just got the full report yesterday.
Good.
About both the festivals, so we've got that
Right,
information.
and so I think that and the prior studies, if they're brought to the, to Caesar's group, they can start going over all that and digesting what it means.
Caesar was on the call, when Caesar gets back in town, the committee's gonna meet with the guy that did it,
Okay.
and a couple of council members, and go through it and take that data and see, how we can use it.
Identifying short-term parking wins, I think that kind of goes with what we were talking about at our training seminar. So those short-term wins would be maybe some leasehold agreements with some local property owners on business parking or train parking. And so that kind of wraps in with his notes for alternative parking for business owners and employees to get those cars off East and West Main Streets. Finding solutions for train ticket holders, I think, goes back to number 2.
Can I add in there court?
Court.
And then just-
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too,
Uptown.
because I was driving through town, like, again, the other day, just kind of looking at stuff for parking. One, because my staff was calling me and screaming about paying $5. I forgot to, I was gonna put that in their paychecks for the week. I thought, I owe everybody at work $15. Court. Anyway, I was thinking about, there's some properties behind the courthouse that are, or even when the city gets their lot done, and maybe if the courts could say the parking, it's not that far, it's a lot, right? So that way it could just be handicap parking in front. I don't know, but we would have to coordinate something with the county. Court. Court parking. Collaboration. And speaking of county, the other thing that I think the DDA as an organization needs to reach out to is the county's development board. We should really be working with them with,
Do they have one?
And speaking with.
yeah,
Gene,
Gribble.
Yeah, Gene said that he is including her in his committee,
Okay, good,
so that would be able to.
good. So then we have to working communications with
Yeah, because Christie asked me,
Christy, yeah.
what it was about.
Yeah, because I got confused when I was reading the paper. It's just like, Christy's talking about the development authority, and I'm like, wait, what? And then the county's development authority, so. And the other thing, yeah, because I just have to talk to Christy about that. It's good education. Okay, so we got that. And then outreach. 1, open communication and participation from the public. I think what Jeff and I had talked about is making sure that the public has involvement and that not necessarily everything has to be scripted, but we should have actual real discussions in public and include the public on those discussions. Inclusion on boards and committees with all people who are interested in actually put the time out versus trying to dip the same well of people constantly. Which again will go back to helping the public feel that they've been involved in this and getting the public involved and have some vested ownership. Social sessions on a monthly basis for networking. So those don't have to be necessarily meetings, but just a lot of the communities do just like a coffee morning, and they pick a place and shows up, at least, you know, the committee person is there drinking a cup of coffee. You can, whoever that person is. And then having a website and Facebook page, and having the vision, mission, and our 2020 work plan available on those websites so that people can just pull them up and look and see what it is that we're doing and how they can get involved. There you go. And then Gene said he wants money. That's his mission.
Yeah,
Speaking for Gene.
put a tip chart out.
There you go.
Big.
So I think all of those things fit into our vision. I don't think we can really prioritize our goals right now for the work plan without the other two committee members here, or authority members here. But we can take these notes and put them together and get them out. Number 6, committee members from each committee chair. I have, for the parking committee, Caesar would like to include Jean, Pam Fink, Zach Wojan. Am I pronouncing that
Can
right?
you possibly spell that one?
Yeah. Since I can't pronounce it, I'll W-O-J-H-O-H-N. Wojan? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Rachel, did I do it right the first time? All right, good job. Rachel Gray and Ruth Jordan. I don't think it's a good idea personally. I don't know how you guys feel about having a member of serve on more than one committee. I mean, I know Gene wants some involvement, but I don't know if he necessarily, he's already in charge of finances. So I think we should try to reach out to other members of the community to have them involved. Maybe, is there somebody, where's Zach Wojan? Is there anybody from the church on here? Okay, good.
He's not a resident or anything.
Yeah, but he'd be great because he's been
He's
doing
got a lot,
studies and
he's got a lot of
he has
studies on
so
that.
much experience.
No,
Well, we don't want to tie the city to any one independent contractor though,
Right.
because we may or may not use him in the future, that's the only thing.
But he does have a house here. We don't have to use him. If he's on the committee with that understanding, that,
To be a committee member, you have to, how many can not be own property either?
It
business
varies,
or-
I mean, there's a lot of I think
Whatever
there's a lot of
bylaws say
variables in play.
Is it only for the committee members? Or
I thought that was
or-
just for the DDA. I don't think it necessarily falls to committee members because you can have experts.
Because I'm gonna have issues if I'm looking for like an architect or something.
Right.
you know.
Well, yeah, I don't
Yeah, you
believe
can have-
that applies, we can double check on that for sure,
Okay.
but I do think it's open. You know, Michelle, I do think it's a great idea to also, like you mentioned, you know, anybody from church, business owner, I mean, any
Yeah.
additional folks who would have a vested interest clearly in the
I think we
parking
need-
setting, which I think is pretty much everybody in this room and beyond. But with that being said, I do think we should reach out to maybe some general members of the public who may be interested in
Yeah.
serving in that capacity.
and I didn't think his suggestions were broad enough for me. I don't know if anybody else. And I have I think I have the bylaws in a different file folder. I have all my DDA notes here. Major differences. Do you have yours? Excellent. All right, committees. I don't think we actually have a lot written in the committees, except that we're supposed to have them.
And they just have, I believe any member, I believe, just has to be approved by the city council. I think that's really the one underlying
Other
requirement.
committee members,
The committee, by the council or by us?
The
I don't think that actually,
I believe the council has to approve any member we have on the committee.
Okay. Well, let me find it. Team, directors, bylaws, because I think it was just who, do you have a Word document on this that I can keep on, so if I have my computer here, I can just Google it
I could
sometime?
probably, I'd have to get it from James, I think, but I could.
Yeah, just so then if I have my computer while we're meeting, we can word search instead of. There is the computer. Alright. Bear with us. associate members. Associate membership. That's what we.
Members are appointed by the governing body and must be taxpayers who live in, oh,
Where's
this is
that?
the DDA.
That's the DDA
Yeah.
itself, yeah, there's nothing really on the committees, because we were to establish the committees. We're supposed to, the determination was made that we figure out which committee, we voted on the committee chairs, and we also vote on our committee members, they don't have to be brought to council. Because that's one of the things that we're supposed to do to be sure that we're a bit more autonomous from the council itself,
Got it.
and that there's no conflict.
And I feel like we had this discussion when we did the workshop
We did.
again, because of bringing in outside
Right.
large scale entities.
Got it.
And bringing in people with more skills that may not necessarily live in town, but may have better expertise that can be in the county. Obviously, we're not gonna bring somebody, in from far away just to be on the committee. We need people that can be here and serve. But so that you could bring people with different expertise on board. And those do not have to go before council for approval, they have to come to DDA for approval.
Got it.
So we approve our own committees. So anyway, my feelings still is that, so as not to stretch people thin, I think Jean, my belief would be that we need to propose maybe a couple more to Caesar. Maybe someone from the Baptist church, or someone from, town that could bring other ideas.
Yeah.
I had suggested Dina Chance, one because she's she's involved with the church, and she's also a business owner. But we may have some other people. I don't know if you approached her or asked her.
I think Donna had mentioned maybe Tony from the street department.
Then you'd be great too. So,
Tony actually was in that, there's an email, basically, there were a couple folks that work with the city that can be kind of, they'd be very helpful as like consultants, just been on
Right.
multiple committees, who, like Tony, like you were mentioning, Tony would be, he could cover a plethora of.
yeah, Tony's been doing it.
Right, and he's got the experience, but also has a neutral mindset to know what
Right.
the city can and can't do.
Can and can't do,
And
which would be
also
good.
is looking after the council's interests to that effect. I think
Yeah,
there could be some balance with that, because there are a few that would fall, and I agree that we could, I think we definitely need to keep that conversation moving forward, just to see what additional recommendations are out there, but I agree, Dina would be great too.
I just think she's
think it's
pretty
a
well
great
rounded, and she
recommendation.
may also have some influence in things we need influence with.
My suggestion.
Your suggestions?
So for me, I guess, it would be somebody from the historical, somebody had mentioned Donald Lowell. A few people from the, I have to whittle them down and just kind of see who's
Okay.
interested. Additionally, obviously an architect, that's been one of my biggest ones. I'm going out there and asking individuals. Alma just gave me a name that I can reach out to, and
And I think
Gina.
he'll
Yeah.
want to be involved.
Perfect. And then I was even thinking Bo Chance or Dina for mine as well. Those are the three I kind of left open. I was thinking more. And then I need somebody from the city, just in truth, just to follow any sort of ordinances the city does pass that we're not aware of, and make sure that I follow mine, similar to Tony being on Caesar's.
Maybe, is there someone, Kelsey, that you would go on, or that's on, the zoning,
No.
or Jeff?
That's you, Roy.
No. Anyway, we can come up with some ideas.
Just in the
Those are-
time. and the
those-
Just if everybody can kind of keep your ear and eye out and email back and forth, maybe some other ideas. And then we can vote on those
Okay.
at the next meeting.
I think let's get all the committees settled, there's a lot of changing of.
Yeah,
officers
I know.
right now.
So those are my few
A
suggestions.
lot included here. All right, so we will, okay, hopefully we can I would like to make a motion that we bring forward, because we need to really get going on these committees, that we send an email out to all of the committee chairs, asking for their top 5 picks of people they've spoken to, so that everyone can look at those lists, make alternative suggestions, and vote on them by the next meeting. And I can vote from in abstention. I will not be here, but you can conference me where I'm at. All those in favor, or second, or wait, we need a second first.
Are we doing second?
All those in favor?
Like I'm trying to remember, no.
You're so quiet. Caesar had another note here that I don't think we're there yet, but he wants to nominate 2 associate members to the DDA.
That's what I think that's what I was kind of getting at. I might have jumped a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
I think Tony was included in that list, which is the one.
Yeah,
that's-
Tony Bird and Johnny Searcy are both on the associate members. I think right now we need to get our committee slots filled. And get my suggestion would be that we get our committee slots filled and let the board figure out where it's going first, and then we can expand from there. But I think we need to keep good basics. But that's just, any other thoughts?
Honestly, in Caesar's absence, I think we could table that till the next.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we table the consideration of associate members to the board until our July meeting.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Uh,
606. All right. What's my actual agenda? Two pieces of paper in front of me. Committee chairs. 7, discuss the format for the public informational meeting. First of all, we need to figure out when you're gonna be having them. Caesar's notes are, all of our meetings are supposed, this is Caesar speaking, not me. All of our meetings are supposed to be public and have community involvement. I do, however, think most of what the public will want input on will be during individual committee meetings. I think this is where they want to make sure topics they're most interested in getting their input. I understand Caesar's commentary here, but I have to say one thing that has had me disgruntled, it's the only word I can use, for a couple of weeks now, and that is that we have a direct outline from Anne when we went through that training on what she recommends has been done for other successful cities. And that was go to the council, get their feedback, not present what we want to do. Get their feedback, and then go to the public and get their feedback, and then from there, set some goals and some plans. I know I'm the chairperson, and I'm supposed to be leading this. I don't feel like I'm leading anything, and I feel like we're not going about this process in the way that it was recommended by the person who was brought in by the city with the expertise on it. So, I don't know how all of you feel about scheduling things or doing things or public or not public, but at this point, I kind of leave it in your hands because I've been following every written note, and I'm a good note taker and I'm a good listener that I've been given, and so far, my feedback from the other members on the board is not the same as what we were guided to do. And I believe straight from that path.
And that's my understanding why you submitted your resignation.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make that clear.
Now that we're an official, I mean, if I could speak freely, and say now that we are official by the approved bylaws, to go forward, we can continue on that path. and I think that was the hangup, was doing any work outside of the approval of bylaws.
Right.
If we can just get the scheduling down to a science between council and us, I mean, it is,
Yeah.
it's 10 people
Yeah,
plus. So, once we can figure out,
when everybody can, but I think we need to meet.
absolutely, and I think that path is totally still doable. I think the concern was starting from what was official and bylaw-wise.
Right. But we need,
And I guess establishing that it's informal.
right,
In a sense, when we meet with the council, there will be minutes and such, but there is no preset formalized agenda, obviously, because it is a free-flowing conversation, we would hope, with opportunities, or whatever sort of SWOT analysis we could do.
and, right, and that's, but, because I have notes here from Caesar. One is that the public meeting doesn't really need to be held because our meetings are all public, and that public meeting, those public meetings are really, should be the committee meetings. And then his next notation, not to skip ahead, but I'm going to, is on number 8, which is a joint committee meeting with the city is necessary, but we shouldn't have the workshop until the DDA has time to put their priorities, their plans of actions together, a cohesive, structured presentation. But the goal of the informal workshop with the city, from Ann's notes, was to get some direction from them on what our priorities and plans of action should be. So I'm at a loss as to which way to continue.
Well, I think we just need to establish our mission, vision, set our committees, and then go to the council, which is something we just didn't have the opportunity to do quite yet. But I do think we're on a positive and direct path. And again, last meeting, we were just in utero because we were still waiting
Right.
for any of the formality requirements of it all. But I think there's some back and forth. I'm kind of split between both of you because I see exactly what you're saying. I equally see the balance in what Caesar's saying about getting some foundation laid. Now, the depth and breadth of that foundation, I think that's kind of just up to us moving forward as to when we're ready. I can tell you for certain, I know our council knew we were not ready to probably hold the workshops. If they want certain directives and know there's possibly certain fundings coming to that end, they need some time to research that. They need the opportunity to review what feedback they might be able to provide to us. And until we have, I think, a balanced foundation in that sense, I don't know how well the council can respond to any requests we have.
No,
Because this is new to them too. I mean, it's just at a point where, they've created us, they don't really know where this needs to go as
Right.
well. But I agree, it's
But
kind of a catch-22, I completely
it
agree.
is, and outside of the funding really is an issue for the DDA to deal with.
Right, but I'm talking startup costs, because right now, we do need to deal with that, but there is a possibility that there's some city money that could be allocated to the DDA, whether that's $1, whether that's 1,000, you never know.
Right,
what
but
that
I don't think the workshop has anything to do with finances at this point, because in order to figure out what we're we
Well,
need
part
to
of
know
that
what it is
agenda,
we're financing.
to be clear, part of the agenda we initially proposed included funding options.
Yeah, if there were any, and they could be like,
Right.
don't have any.
And I mean,
Or,
I agree,
you know,
I agree
don't
to a
have any,
sense,
Grants
with
or.
both, but mostly I'm reading what Caesar's saying, and it's great, yes, we should do those things, but I think that comes after we meet with the city and the public. So I think that's step 2, is Caesar's statement of making the great foundation, but how, I hate to sound very dramatic about it, but how dare we make these plans and say, this is what we're doing for you. So, in that sense, I agree with you wholeheartedly in the front end, and then on the tail end, we do need to set, not that you didn't
Right.
think about having priorities, but say, this is our priorities after that fact. So it's great, yeah, we can do these workshops and tell people we're fixing your parking problems, but if we don't really know what the parking problems are, if we haven't spoken to the community as well as the council, we're out of luck and just force feeding people.
Conundrum.
It's a conundrum. But I think a lot of these conversations need to be much more public. Even if it doesn't look pretty. Look, sometimes things aren't pretty.
Maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
Does the public understand what a DBA is.
No.
I'm wondering if that might be a first step.
And I'd like to just kind of
I
clarify
mean,
the
it's
record.
written down, isn't it?
No, thank you very much, ma'am. And I believe the question was, just so we have everything clearly in record for you, was does the public understand exactly what a DDA is or does? I think, is that the general sense of it all, ma'am?
Yeah, I think that's the first, to me, that would be the first.
And that was kind of what we were directed as from the guru of DDAs who we sat through the workshop with, was to have just kind of an open informal workshop with the public, a series of them more than likely we would end up doing. But the first one would be like, hey, this is what a DDA is, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, this is what we hope to accomplish, with some of our basic outlines that we have, our 4 committees, which are part of what the Main Street program basically, and some other organizations such as this have done in the past and been successful with. Explain that to them and say, how would you all like to get involved, and what are your concerns?
And Michelle, you put together actually a great fact sheet on that. I thought those highlights were really solid and straight to the point. If you'd like, I would be happy to kind of run through those just to so. But basically, DDA has several purposes, and I'll just read it verbatim. This is just kind of a general notes fact sheet that we put together to try and inform the public a little more clearly as to what the authority does. Downtown development authorities are used in cities throughout the state as a mechanism to revitalize and redevelop municipal central business districts. The purposes, we've actually covered 4 Ps, which I really like: protect, powers, projects, and potential. For protect, DDAs are regulated by state statute so they can provide protection to cities who work through their DDAs. Example, cities are not liable for their DDA's debts or contracts. Powers, the DDAs have certain powers granted by the state that cities don't have. For instance, to acquire by purchase, lease, or otherwise, and to hold, lease, and dispose of real and personal property. So we'd be able to acquire buildings, et cetera, and lease those back to the city, et cetera. Projects. DDAs are charged with redevelopment of their service area and completing projects. By way of example, the acquisition and renovation of downtown properties for target business recruitment and expansions. Potential, DDAs are concerned only with their mission and projects, not the burdens of a local government. So board members have the potential to solve problems and engage in a sustainable redevelopment. I know that's kind of generalized, but it does kind of give a little more directive guidance as to the difference in authorities we may have as a board versus what the council or even the government authorities have the ability to acquire. And a lot of that's grants and fundings that the city otherwise is just not doesn't have available resources to them moving forward.
Would a first step be, or right along the line, to get something very clear in the newspapers?
I have written that, and it's been submitted to the city, and I don't have the authority.
In other words, the city
I mean,
has to-
we have not had the authority up until this point to send materials out on our own, nor would we. I would like the city's approval on anything I'm sending out on their
Sure.
behalf. So it's been submitted to the city. We have, to be straightforward, have had some changes within our authority. One, I submitted my resignation a couple of weeks ago, which has not been accepted or really kind of responded to yet. And I do know they have a council meeting next week, and we have another, but I have had no response from anyone on that notice. And we had another resignation from the authority as well, Jeff DiPaolo. He is done and is not coming to any meetings. And I'm sure they're going to be voting on it next week. I am here as chairperson because I was elected chairperson, and I'm not going to leave until they have somebody who goes through the training that's required so that the board can continue to meet. So I'll be here until I am replaced. But I'm not going to just walk away because we can't have any meetings and we can't move forward. And it's been a long time coming for this board, and so I'm going to stay here until we get a replacement so that there will be a quorum and we can move ahead. And I'll let whomever finally responds to my letter know that when they respond. So there you go.
And I think the city attorney, I don't know if that's exactly accurate for your need, because we do have a vice chairman,
Okay.
but I do think that, and we'll touch base with Valley. We'll touch base with Valley, which I think has already been submitted. They're, I think, going to be meeting on that after the fact, but I think we need to have an additional quorum, and unfortunately, I don't think we have enough quorum outside of your
Right.
resignation for us to even move forward on that today, unfortunately. But I do think there's plans in place to have that resolved quickly.
Cool.
Well, with those plans, as a person who probably doesn't know of any other plans,
Yeah,
so
same here.
I'm like the last one to know. With that, you know, if I can just make a suggestion, since we're in this conversation, to say, I know that suggestions have been put forward via email, that my suggestion would be to go to Ann and say, since
Oh, I
these
agree
have been
wholeheartedly.
vetted out, and people have applied and showed their interest prior to anybody being
Nominated or put
nominated in
forward.
any form via email,
Yeah.
I agree.
so.
Well, whoever
Whoever replaces
they
you
have
should
to
be
go
a
through,
sig-
they need to go through the same rigors and.
She has
the same-
the whole list, so there's gotta be some
There was
runners
only-
up.
There was only, what I understand is only 2 other applicants, both the other applicants are on other boards to the city already.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was told the other day.
That was my suggestion.
Okay.
As far as going forward, I mean, we do have it, for our discussion that our next step. So our next step is to meet with the city councilors anyway to initiate an email chain and get a schedule going. Whether it be before
I think that is.
July meeting or August meeting. But at least set a deadline saying that we need to get it done before the end of summer.
Well, at this point, from what I'm understanding, they've already accepted my resignation and are moving forward to do something with it. So I'm not sure whether you need to do that until you get your people on board, since they're already looking at it. I have had no response from anyone, except Donna said, hey, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out, let's talk. And that was the last thing I heard. I'm getting something else from Jay right now, so. Which was,
Okay.
We're gonna council meeting next week, so we should be able to let one stuff.
I agree.
all right, I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
Perfect.